Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Thursday, the 11th of September. I'm Derek Clark, and we're joined this morning by Stevie Clifford. How's it going, Stevie?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. Sorry, everyone, that we're late. It was my fault. This is my first day of being on here in a few weeks, Derek, isn't it? 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm in my new job, and this was the first time of logging in and everything else at work. So, yeah. And I'm allowed to be on. This employee is very supportive of what I do, Derek. So I'm allowed to be on.
Excellent. That is music to our ears. But I do miss, we need to get some Rangers-related stuff in your background. That's taking my eyes a little bit to get used to your surroundings.
Yeah, very shiny, Derek.
No, great to have you back on, Steve. I think it might have been a deadline day show when I certainly was last speaking to you. Lots to discuss. Before we do that, folks, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust. Proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing game. So if you're looking for a new fence, these are the guys to call. They offer free consultations and 10% off with the code Rangers Review over on their website, willows-fencing.com. Right, we start with some negative news. Unfortunately, Chris, with the story yesterday on the website, folks, following Rangers away clash with Club Brugge that I would like to forget about, but Rangers have been charged by UEFA for the lighting of pyrotechnics in that game. They've been handed a €20,000 fine, as well as being given a suspended one-game ban on travelling fans. Now, what that means is that travelling supporters will still be permitted to travel to away games for now, but any further breaches within the next 2 years would result in a ban. So, now that is something that has certainly sparked debate on social media. Stevie, it's one of those ones, it's UEFA's ball. My feelings on UEFA, I'm not a fan of their organisation, but when you're playing in their competitions, it's their ball, basically. And Rangers have been handed a fine, and I do not want fans to be locked out of matches in this Europa League campaign because of some individuals taking pyro into games. Your views on this?
Yeah, well, that's us on probation now at Ibrox and away, because we've still got the potential ban of the Copeland hanging over us, and now the away games. It can't happen. It can't happen. Now, I'm all for, if there was a way and they found a way to legalise and make safe pyro, I think it's a fantastic thing for the crowd, but it's not safe. And if it's banned and outlawed, then we cannot use it, and it's quite simple. We are in UEFA sites, both home and away, Derek, and we can't allow that to happen, and it's not fair on any of the travelling support or even the home support that we should be put in a position by the minority of supporters who continue to do it. And it can't happen. Simple as that. And I'm, as I said, I'm all for it, and I like the kind of displays and everything else that it does. If it's safe, that's got to be key, and if it's allowed and if it's permitted. So if they can't find a way to do that and legalise it and make it safe, then it can't happen. And we have to adhere to the rules that UEFA set, that the SFA are set, and we saw the fines that were handed out for I think the semi-final against Motherwell, was it, that was delayed?
Yep.
They're only going to start ramping that up as well if they see the UEFA and FIFA acting on it as well. So no, it can't happen. It's as simple as that. Whether we like it or not, whether we're all in favour of it, it's not something that we can go with, is it? So yeah, if there was a way, then great, but at the moment there's not. So it's as simple as that.
Absolutely, and I, for one, I'm going to the Ferencvaros game, so please, no pyro in the upcoming 2 matches, and of course, I know a lot of Bears are going to Porto as well. I would not like the UEFA to issue a ban on Rangers fans going to Portugal or wherever in this next 2 years. You've got to say, just wrap the pyro, please, is the message. And like you, Steve, I think I echo those views. Moving on from that, Barry Ferguson has been speaking. Of course, Rangers back in action on Saturday against Hearts. Must win for me. There's no There's no two ways about it, but he's been speaking in his newspaper column in Daily Record. He says, there's no point sugarcoating it, nothing to be gained by pretending Rangers and Russell Martin have got the season off to a positive start. I'm perfectly sure no one inside Ibrox would even attempt to suggest they've been happy with the first few weeks of the campaign. It's been difficult for the new manager, and at times it's looked a bit frenzied, but it's also worth remembering it was always likely to be a turbulent transitional period. When you think about it, all that's been going on, it was never likely to be as smooth as the supporters were hoping for. There were always going to be bumps along the way. That's all said, when the season restarts on Saturday at 3 o'clock, there can be no more distractions and no more excuses. The hard yards have been done over the course of the summer. Russell said himself he was desperate for the summer market to shut down because of all the noise it'd been creating. Who's staying, who's going, what's this team going to look like if they allow Dessers and Iggerman to move on? How did they cope with losing 2 strikers in one go? Well, now we have the answers to those questions. The dust has settled, and Russell will have been able to take some time during the international break to get his head clear. He says, when Hearts come to Ibrox on Saturday, Rangers will get the opportunity to relaunch their whole season, and it's one they simply cannot afford to miss. Has to win this game, Stevie. For me, it's a huge match. You can't go 5 games without a win in the league. It's just not worth thinking about. But how are you feeling heading into this game? I think Barry speaks a lot of sense on that. We did expect it to be transitional and a tad turbulent. Not quite sure we expect it to be this turbulent right enough. But how's the head heading into Saturday?
Shiny, Derek. Listen, we were warned, weren't we? Southampton fans said the first couple of months it would be painful. It would be very difficult. It would be rough, and you wouldn't enjoy it, and you would be proverbially pulling your hair out. But I don't need to worry about that. But I think we've seen that. I think we've seen the kind of turbulent side of it. I think we've seen the things that they warned about. But in reality, every game's a must-win. But it's kind of crunch time a wee bit, especially Hearts, Hibs, start of Europa. I don't think he's got many lives left in the views of the fans, certainly. Yeah. Whether the owners feel differently, I think they probably do. We've seen Andrew Kavanagh, has already kind of backed him to the players and staff before the Old Firm. So they've spent a lot of money, and I don't see them reacting quickly, but that can change, Derek, very quickly if the fans react, and if the fans stop coming, and if the fans, if we're in a position after another couple of bad results to have that. So he has to win. He always has to win, but it also has to be the last time where we're in a position where we say this is a must-win for him.
Oh no!
It needs to start at some point, and you can try and look for the positives from the last match and say, yeah, we were a bit more organised, we were a bit more astute in how we played. The line wasn't dangerously high, etc., etc. But you need to build on that. You cannot go to Saturday and be wide open 4-3-3 and then expect different things to happen. Yeah, I think the international games proved that we've got some quality players, and it's now a case of allowing them to go and perform and getting a system that suits them. And as well as working to Russell Martin's ideologies, there needs to be a fine line, to doing that. And we talked about it a wee bit last night, is maybe he's tried to go from A to Z too quickly to install what he wants to do, and he maybe has to be a wee bit more patient with the group and what he's trying to do. But I think undoubtedly we have players in that squad that are better than what we've had. We've lost some big players ultimately, I get that, but we're in a good position if we can actually start performing.
Yeah. Kenny, very optimistic. He says, I'm still fully behind Russell Martin. We now have the best squad in the league. A couple of good wins and the confidence will flow.
See on that, can I just say, I'm sick of us having the best squad on paper and winning, all the arguments outside of what we do on the pitch. And Kenny, I'm not criticising that, but it's a bit of a fed up point of view from me. Because I think we've got the best squad. I think, we could go in confidence and stuff, but it needs to start, Derek. You know what I mean? And until we get in a position where other teams have done it, unfortunately, our rivals across the city can make wins look mundane, even when they're not playing well. Routinely go and win at Kilmarnock on Sunday, for example. We couldn't go to Paisley and win So as much as we might have good players, and I think we do, and I agree with that, it has to start, because that will never be justified until we start churning out the mundane wins and the ones that aren't, or the ones that are supposed to be normal for us. Now, Hearts is a big game on Saturday, I'm not saying that, but there's games when the league season, when Stevie won 55 and Steven Gerrard's team won 55, we won a lot of games 1-0. And I think from record, I've talked about this a wee bit last night as well, there was 7 or 8 1-0 wins that season, and games we weren't spectacular. We have to make those games the ones that we win, as well as the bigger games and the ones that we can perform in. And I hate the saying that we look good on paper and we've got better players. They have to show it. And it's not just, I said it as well, but we have to show that we have to start performing before the claims of having a really good squad become the norm.
Yeah. What I would give for a 1-0 win on Saturday, and moving on from there, just win Rangers, I think it's quite simple. An interesting point, many comments coming in just on what will happen on Saturday, who will play. Of course, a number of players, Rangers players, have shown for their respective countries on international duty, one being Nico Raskin Stevie, scored his first international goal for Belgium and started again, getting rave reviews. Now, Unca Dave says, will Raskin be reintroduced? And this is an interesting point from multiple man. I've seen another someone else suggesting it. Does he look weak, Russell Martin, if Raskin comes straight back in? Now, we know he's having discussions with both the head coach and Kevin Thelwell about the situation and the way forward. I think certainly, by all accounts, interest in him in the transfer window, he was not willing to move on, Nico Raskin, despite the situation he found himself in. And we heard his post-match comments after Belgium's 6-0 win over Kazakhstan, saying that he loves the club and doesn't want to move anywhere, and the situation being complicated, and he's hoping that they can find a solution. I don't necessarily think it makes Russell Martin look weak if he's back in the starting 11. Let's be honest, that has to be the outcome on Saturday. Stevie, would you go along with that? And how do you see this one playing out?
Does it make him look weak to banish a player from the squad in the stadium for having questions asked about tactics? If we're believed that that's what's happened behind the scenes. So you can flip that both ways, I think, because Barry Ferguson and Neil McCann have spoken about Nico Raskin's kind of temperament and what he's like, but they managed that situation. And Barry Ferguson, with all due respect to him, and this isn't mean as a criticism, Russell Martin's been a Premier League manager down south, which is apparently the holy grail. He should have a lot more experience and know-how on how to handle this. If Barry Ferguson can do it, I'm a wee bit wondering where Russell Martin is in the whole thing of being able to handle that. So you can look at it both ways. The bottom line for me is quite simple. Nico Raskin is Rangers' best player.
Yeah,
he certainly was last season. He's a Belgian international. Belgium heading to World Cup next year could easily be in the last four, quite easily, with the squad they've got. If he's capable of playing in a team that's got the likes of Tielemans and Kevin De Bruyne and things like that, and still shining it, then why is he not performing in a midfield, which we've watched, Eric, which is something like 7 different combinations since the start of the season. None of them have looked decent enough. We've watched players underperform, and he's still getting shifted about. So if I can talk about it a wee bit more expansively, a wee bit more wider, it should never have got to this point where it was in public. It should never have been handled like this. They could easily have dealt with it differently. They chose not to. His press conference before Celtic and leading us down the way he did was wrong. The way he spoke about Nico Raskin in public was wrong. So I think this could have been handled a whole lot better and a whole lot differently. The other side of it is, if Nico is guilty of being a wee bit disruptive or whatever other things might have been labelled at him, then he needs to toe the line and do what's right for himself, but more importantly for Rangers Football Club. We still pay his wages, he's our player. So it's both sides need to sit down, shake hands and get back on the page that we need to do the best for the football club, and that's the most important thing here. So fix it. Nico Raskin's got a World Cup to aim for next year. We've got shiny things to try and win. Get it together, sort it out, get him back in the team. I don't care. I don't particularly care how it makes either of them look. All I want to see is Rangers with the best players available and the best team available, and that includes Nico Raskin.
Yes, lots of comments, as you can imagine, coming in off the back of that. This one from Jonathan, who says, this Raskin must play narrative is something we, the fans, are creating. Raskin has a role, and if he isn't fulfilling his role, then he needs to work on that. And Timothy with that point as well.
I disagree on that, because Raskin's been asked to play something that's new in a different role. We've seen him at Fir Park. We've seen him in games where he's been asked to play almost as an attacking inside forward. He was in a lot of positions in that Motherwell game, like edge of box and stuff on the wing, try to cross it with his bad foot and stuff like that. Nico Raskin doesn't play like that. We all know that. Look at how he played for Belgium. He's a sitting destroyer who's capable of going box to box and going forward. Barry got the very best out of him, as well as Barry got the best out of Cyril Dessers, arguably, as well. If and ironically, the Celtic formation and the way we set up in that midfield with the deeper two and Barron and Diamandi would have suited Nico Raskin to an absolute T. So I don't agree that with that point that we need to find a way to maximise Nico Raskin. By the way, we also need to find a way to maximise Joe Rothwell, Mohamed Diamandi, and the other midfielders, because the current setup that he played in, Derek, how many shows did we do that constantly said the midfield's not right, the balance isn't right? Joe Rothwell looked lost, absolutely lost. And the only performance we've seen from Joe Rothwell really was Panathinaikos, when they had 10 men and we had more of the ball and dropped in because there wasn't so much pressure on the midfield. And every other game he's been swamped and he's looked lost because he's played in a formation and a system in midfield that doesn't work. So that's on the management team to fix that as well. And I guarantee, by the way, if you'd sat Joe Rothwell and Nico Raskin in the positions that Conor Barron and Mohamed Diamandi played against Celtic, they both would have shone in that also, because they suit that. Raskin would have helped Rothwell. Rothwell would have helped Raskin. Rothwell's got a good range of passing that Nico maybe doesn't have, but Nico can go and win the ball and hunt it. Play the formation and play the system that suits the players that you have, not a system that doesn't suit the players you have, because you're asking them to do too much. It's no coincidence to me either that John Souttar had 2 fabulous games for Scotland on the right-hand side of defence when he's asked simply to defend and not pretend that he's Paolo Maldini from the back, because he's not. He's not a good passer of the ball. He can't. You've seen the mistakes he made. Dundee passed to the boy, 2 passes later, G gets sent off. Scotland don't ask him to do that, and he defends really well, and he's a siege-like defender. So that's not. I'm not having a go. I'm just saying play to the strengths of what you have.
Absolutely. Yep. Mark sums it up. He says, play your best players in their best positions and work the formation to suit. It's a simple game when you put it like that, Mark. Some interesting points coming in just on Raskin. Big thank you to James, who's very kindly donated to the channel. Thank you, James. Hopefully you're enjoying life down under this morning or this afternoon or this evening, whatever time it is down there. It says that Raskin needs to play in the box-to-box role, build a team around him. Someone mentioned on social media about a potential midfield 3 of Barron, Raskin and Lyle Cameron playing in a more advanced position with that Raskin doing the box-to-box stuff, which I wouldn't be opposed to that, I've got to say. But Rangers do have options in the midfield. Teddy says 4-2-3-1 on Saturday with Raskin and Dio as the 2. End of conversation. We did see that against Celtic. Not Raskin in there, of course. It was Conor Barron, who was excellent alongside Diamandi, I thought, Stevie. Do you think Russell Martin will keep that formation, or will he revert to what he has been playing, do you reckon?
I think if he reverts to 4-3-3, then we're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Because that's a very open system, and I don't think we're quite there yet. I would stick, personally, to what we saw. He did play 2 up front with Southampton numerous times. We've spent a lot of money on Miovski and Chermiti. In the region of 12-13 million on both. I think they have to play, Derek. Chermiti's one that's maybe been bought for the future, but with that price tag, big things will be expected of him. You know what I mean? I expect a 12-minute hat trick if it's good enough for Asgard. Then But in all seriousness, 2 up front is. I want to be entertained. I want to see Rangers. I don't necessarily. He's spoken a lot, right, about dominating attacking football and all that, and I know that's difficult. I get it, and it's not going to happen instantly. But I do want shots at goal. I do want attacking pressure. We've not seen that. We've not seen it in any league game yet, and that's been the biggest disappointment. The equaliser in Paisley against St Mirren from young Finlay Curtis was our first shot on target, I think, more or less, after 70 odd minutes. No shots on target in the last game. These are things we need to sort. We need to get the balance right for that. So, formation-wise, 2 up front would maybe be different. 2, Chermeti's a big lad. He's got a presence. Majowski's physical. He's already proved that he wants the ball. He wants to hold it up. He can drop in and stuff like that. So, I think you've got to find a way that accommodates a more attacking style, but also have the back door shut and not as wide open as it's been. We cannot continue with such a high line when it's been easily, Dundee and St Mirren both picked that off easily. And that's no disrespect to them. My point being with that is if it's easy to play against like that, we'll continue to suffer. And I don't think we can do that. So there was a more pragmatic approach to Celtic and they looked quite strong, albeit I thought Celtic were extremely poor. It was visible why they didn't score goals in their Champions League qualifier because they were pretty poor. But we need to find a way that strikes a balance between being more conservative at the back. You can still play expansively, you can still knock it about, you can still try and get it forward, but maybe not be so high, Derek, and not be so open. And then at the other side, you need to find a way of fitting your best players in. There's plenty of options: Gassama, Antman, Tello Asgard, Majowski, Chermeti. You can't say that we've not got good attacking options. That's Mikey Moore to come on or be in amongst that mix as well. Finlay Curtis is there. There's so many options in the forward positions that we need to find a balance that's right. And then in midfield, you've got Rothwell, Diamande, Raskin, Conor Barron. You've got plenty to play a formation that's going to suit these guys and try and make them flourish as well. So Russell Martin wanted the window closed. He wanted some time on the pitch with the players and everything else. He's got that now. And he's got a squad. They've spent a lot of money. They've backed him. 13 players have come in. He needs to find something that works.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This point from Overland and Borders caught my eye. Says, is he getting the best out of any player? He's had more games than Barry. The one player that sort of comes to mind is Jack Butland, but I think Sal Bibble needs a lot of credit for that. I think who's come in and what wonders he's looked much more like the player that was brought to Rangers in the first place, Jack Butland. So long may that continue.
I'm only laughing because he said no choice. Jack, what's he? How many shots has he had at him? So, look, I think the thing with Barry as well is people need to remember. See, when you go in as a situation like that with Barry, where we were rock bottom under Philippe Clement, being beaten by Queen of the South and St Mirren and all that, the only way it really was up for Barry, and he managed to do a fairly decent enough job. But it was still with a broken squad. Russell's had a lot to contend with and a lot to turn around in the summer.
Yeah,
but he's got to fix it. I do agree. I don't think we've seen the best of anyone. You could argue that Jerry Gassama has shown up domestically. We probably need more from him. But he's looked good at times as well, European wise.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, because I know you need to nip away at some point shortly, Stevie, John with the point says, what would your team be for Saturday, Derek and Stevie? Well, you know mine. I'll rattle through mine quickly. Butland, Tav, Suter, Cornelius, Magoma, Antman, Diamande, Raskin, Gassama, and then it's, you know what? I had Chermiti in alongside Majowski. I'll stick Asgard in, given his 4 goals for Norway the other night. I'll stick him just behind Majowski. That is a team I would be going for. Stevie?
Upset everyone by playing Max Aarons at right back instead of James Tavernier. And I would go with probably Chermiti and Majowski up front instead of Asgard, Derek. But Diamande, Raskin in midfield is probably right, but it's pretty unfair on Conor Barron. Depends if he goes 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
I would be inclined to go with Barron and Diamande because Raskin needs to play his way back into the team. even though I think that he should be playing, I would be bringing him on maybe 60 minutes or so, in fairness, because I think Barron did play well against Celtic.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think Connor Barron is a player that Nico Raskin is. But you need a wee bit of fairness. If he goes 4-2-3-1, Ant-Man, Gassama, Telo Asgard probably behind Miovski, because you wouldn't break that formation if he feels that it's decent. But he's got, I think more the point is he's got options to do multiple things. He needs to make sure the one he does is the best idea. And that for me means, being more pragmatic at times. We cannot be as open and as trying to be as expansive when it's not working. So, and there's a lot of players that need to step up and perform. Max Aarons, Joe Rothwell, Oliver Antman, Jerry Gassama. They're all being brought in with and shown bits and pieces in moments, but they've been too fleeting. So we need an uplift, Eric, from everyone. We need an overall performance that it doesn't look. Nobody expects us to turn up and look like, prime Brazil or Man City, Barcelona teams that have blown everybody away. But what we do want to see is a bit more progression in that. You can get a victory, get 3 points and say, well, look, generally we had moments there that we can build on, that we can play well. Have we seen anything so far, aside maybe of Panathinaikos at home and Pilsen at home, that you can generally say, well, that looked okay in spells, we're going to grow and going to get better? That has to be the key for Saturday, that we can take positives and go on to better things.
Yeah, let's hope Rangers get back to winning ways. I'll take any scoreline right now. I don't care how entertaining it is. Just get that first win on the board, please. Right, that'll do us there. Big thank you to Stevie, as ever. And thank you to you all for tuning in to the show. Very much appreciated, folks. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Press conference day tomorrow, as well as we build up to that game at Ibrox on Saturday. Enjoy your Thursday, whatever you are doing. And we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.